Hi, I'm Linda Augsburg, Editorial Content Chief for American Patchwork and Quilting. And in this Show Me How video, brought to you by Babylock, I'm going to show you how to make this adorable baby quilt with a snowball block, which is a really easy block to make. To download the instructions, go to allpeoplequilt.com/showmehowbaby. Now let's get started. So this baby quilt was inspired by So Many Snowballs by Julie Hendrickson. And to make a snowball block, what you'll need for this baby quilt is 80 4¼ squares and then 320 1½ squares. Now you can see, once I cut my 1½ squares, I marked the diagonal. And I'm going to show you in a little bit how easy it is to make a snowball block using squares rather than triangles. In addition to these smaller pieces, you'll need your borders, and those are cut 4½ inches by the width of the fabric, and you'll need 4 strips of that. And then you'll need 2½ widths for binding. And again, I actually cut 5 because that quilt is almost going to use all of those binding strips if you only cut 4. So I cut an extra just to have a little wiggle room. Then you need your backing and your batting, and you're ready to go. So to get the scrappy look in this quilt, I chose 10 fabrics and cut 8 squares of the larger squares from each one. For the smaller squares, I found 5 coordinating batiks, and then I mixed and matched the larger prints and the batiks, so I got a really scrappy look in the quilt. So to make the snowball block, you're going to put those marked squares in the corners of the block, and then you're going to sew on that pencil line that you marked. If you want to chain piece this, basically to do that, you would sew all your squares one way on one side of the square and then all on the other, trim them apart, and then rotate and do the other 2 corners. So once you get all 4 pinned in place, you're just going to sew, making sure that you're sewing right on that line. So once you've sewn on all 4 corners, you're going to trim this extra triangle off with a 1/4 inch seam allowance, press this back, and then if need be, trim that square up again to 4¼ Every once in a while those corners can get a little wonky, so you just want to make sure your squares are nice and square when you go to sew them together. Once you've got all 80 blocks done, lay them out on the design wall, sew them together in 8 blocks across by 10 rows down, and then add your borders. So that's all there is to it. Now that you've added the borders, you can quilt it and bind it, and it's ready to give as a gift. Again, for those instructions, go to allpeoplequilt.com/showmehowbaby.